Saturday morning, October 26th, year of our Lord, 2024. You're doing lines with the Let's Not Do This podcast. You got the big O, Leon Oliver, sitting alongside two of the three unwise men. A man who's down on his luck and down under me in the graphic. One, Chris Green. How are you, sir?
I'm wide awake. I got plenty of sleep last night. It's a beautiful day.
Yeah, Scotty was a bad influence on me, and I drank a lot yesterday. And then the man who is America's greatest wingman at the bar, one Scotty Too Hottie. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I got a little bit of sleep, but yeah, my routine is off. I barely got everything in, all the graphics and all that shit. Yeah.
Couple of IPAs and his world comes crumbling down like the walls of Jericho.
Maybe it will help my picks. No paralysis by analysis.
I missed the World Series walk off last night, Grand Slam. I came back home. I ate a Wawa gobbler sandwich for the first time ever in my life, which was amazing. And then I promptly passed out. So I missed everything, including the Boise State game as well. But hey, I'm back amongst the living. Apparently Scotty is not. Now he is. Okay. There we go. So let's go into it and get to some picks here before we get into the picks. What's up?
Talking about the games last night. So I fell asleep. When I fell asleep, I was up almost 3 units on the night. I had the under in the World Series, and then I had plus 3.5 with UNLV. I wake up and I'm down like almost a half unit. A fucking walk-off grand slam and extra innings. Are you kidding me? You couldn't just hit a sacrifice or a single or something?
Let's go, Freddie.
The game.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, before we get into this week's picks, let's take a look at the standings and take a look back at the week that was. Scotty is the keeper of the records here. And if I remember correctly, I think I did pretty damn well last week. But let's see what the record says. You got that here, Scotty?
Yeah, let me pull this up.
As he pads a little bit. And by the way, if you enjoy this content, you can make sure to check out the Let's Not Do This podcast Thursday nights at 6:45 on this very channel. Also, that one goes on Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts as well. Of course, this podcast here on Saturday mornings doing lines, YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble exclusive. But if you want the audio, the Let's Not Do This podcast also is everywhere where you listen to podcasts audio-wise. I don't know why you would just listen to audio, but actually I do know, because rather than look at Chris's face for an hour, which I have to do, yeah, that makes sense. Let's go to the picks.
But yeah, as you mentioned, you had a very good week last week. Somehow you went 4-0 in NFL.
Hit my groove.
Well, your NFL was good. None of us really. Well, Chris did all right in college, but yeah, you were 1-2-1. Another push for both of y'all in college. You went 5-2-1 overall. Like I said, 4-0 in NFL somehow. Chris was 2-1-1 in college and 1-3 in the NFL. 4-1 total. I went 1-3 in college because Jalen Milroe forgot how to play football, and then 2-2 in the NFL. Yeah, that Packers game should have covered, but yeah, 3-5. Thought I was turning things around. I am not. And then we go to our overall records here. I am still in last, 26, 36-2. I guess you would say Leon's ahead of Chris by a half game.
I'm ahead in the loss column.
Yeah, because like you get like a push like every week. Fucking soccer fans, man.
Matchbox 20. I want to push you around. Well, I will. Little Rob Thomas there.
Yeah, I'm below 500 in both. I was above 500 in NFL. Had a rough couple weeks there, but yeah, we are still not very good at this. But Leon's getting better.
Yeah. Hey, we're close to 500, which if you're at 500 is pretty damn good betting wise. You know what I mean? So we're getting there. All right. Well, let's take a look and see what we have on the docket this week. And for that, I keep forgetting to bring in that goddamn transition graphic. Oh, well. We'll just skip that part there. Let's go into the picks for this week. Who wants to go first? I'll do the honors. Fine.
Okay.
I'll do the honors. All right, coming up here for me, I am going to start with one of my favorite rivalries. And this line is a little long there, but it is in MetLife Stadium, not in Annapolis. But we got Notre Dame laying the 14 points, 12th ranked team in the country, taking on Navy, the 24th ranked midshipmen at MetLife Stadium in beautiful New Jersey, over under 50.5, noon on ABC and ESPN Plus. The line moved on this one to 14. What was it, Scotty? Like 13.5, I want to say?
Yeah, it was 13.5 for most of the week. And then I haven't looked at other books, so I'm sure it's probably still some 13.5s out there. But yeah, ESPN had just moved to 14.
Yeah. So money coming in there. Notre Dame leads this all-time series. It's a rivalry kind of in name only. They lead this series 80-13-1. Navy's last win over the Irish was 28-27 in Jacksonville. Pretty much almost 8 years ago, back in 2016. But here's the thing. Navy is the 9th worst team in the country versus the run, which is ironic considering the offense that they run. Conventional wisdom says to take the under, when you're have a service academy game, but Navy bucks that trend. The Middies are 6-0 betting the over this season, and have had two totals higher than this one, 56.6 against UAB, and 56.5 against UAB, and 57.5 against Charlotte. So with the over-under in this game right now being 50.5, I'm going to go, and that did drop. I think earlier in the week it was 51. I'm going to go with the over in this game. I think Navy's going to run the ball. They have a very explosive offense, but Notre Dame's going to be able to get some big plays against them. But Navy can score points as well. I wouldn't surprise me if Navy covered this spread or even if they pulled off in the upset, but I'm going to go with the over in this game between Notre Dame and Navy.
This is on my card as well. Navy hasn't played a defense lower than 100 this year.
That's very true.
They have a dog shit strength of schedule. They are ranked 24th just because their name is Navy and they haven't lost yet. Notre Dame's going to beat the shit out of them. It's probably going to be like 30-6. Go with the under. Notre Dame covers easily.
I want this on record. Chris Green hates America. He's picking against the Navy. He hates America.
We got bigger fish to fry. They don't need to focus on football.
He's Canadian, sir. He's with Trudeau. He hates America. Scotty, you were saying?
I almost put this on my card. I kind of agree with Chris. Navy's been a great story. They're ranked. It's been running all over teams, but I just feel like it's a huge step up in physicality. And I mean, that option isn't going to work very well if the entire line's getting blown up at the start. So, I mean, we'll just have to see how Navy handles that. If they can, then, I mean, they can make this game interesting and be there at the end. But I don't know. I see Notre Dame kind of just beating them up and getting the win and the under.
I am going to bet this separately, but I'm going to steal this. And I forgot who said it on the Cover 3 podcast earlier this week, but one of the props they were looking at was possibly Navy first quarter. Especially with the spread, Navy in the first quarter, because you imagine maybe early on, especially if they get the ball early and they walk the ball down the field, big possession eats up a lot of clock. And if they could stop Notre Dame on their first possession, they could potentially win the first quarter. So I don't know what the line is on that. I'm going to check into that, but I do kind of like the idea of that. But I'm going with the over in this game here. All right.
Yeah.
So
anybody who wanted to see Navy and Army meet up undefeated, your ship will be sunk today.
By the way, I'm glad you said that. I was looking at tickets because I've never been to
that.
Yeah. Go ahead and deport me along with Chris. I was looking at tickets for that Army Navy game. I've never been to one. I've always wanted to go to one. And it's in DC, and I would actually set foot in the Commander Stadium, braving, that awful walk from the metro and also sewage raining down upon me. They're like $900 and some for like upper level tickets.
I'm sure that price will come down. That's just people marking them up because they think there's a possibility they're both undefeated.
Yeah.
As it gets closer, nobody's going to buy I won't say nobody, but a lot of people won't be able to sell those tickets. That price will come down at some point.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. So maybe I'll be on that a little bit later on, taking a peek at that. But I was astounded by that. All right, next up on my card here, this is College Game Day in Bloomington right now. It's not basketball season just yet. The 13th ranked Hoosiers laying 5.5 at home, taking on UW, the Huskies, making the trip. Over under is 54.5. This game is noon on Big Ten Network, which, by the way, how many times has College Game Day gone to a game that is on Big Ten Network? It's not even on Fox, it's on the Big Ten Network.
Stupid.
But yeah, so the Hoosiers are rolling right now. Obviously undefeated. They're 7-0 for the first time since 1967. Kurt Signetti is doing a bang up job there. Now, of course, he's got like 28 JMU players, I want to say, on the roster that came over with him from James Madison to Indiana, but they're rolling right now. They haven't allowed any points in the first quarter all season long. Indiana hasn't. I mean, that's just astounding. Through 7 games, not even a field goal in the first quarter thus far. And also, I wanted to bring this up. Dave Portnoy and Barstool was in Bloomington last week. They did their show there. Scotty, we stayed at a graduate hotel in Charlottesville, and the key cards were quite odd. They have
Yeah, I was looking for my wallet. I kept mine because they did not have famous people on theirs. It was just a random college girl that looked like she had been kidnapped and forced to take a picture.
It was scary. It was weird.
Yes, I keep it in my wallet, but I turn it upside down because if I don't, people will see the picture and think I'm like keeping girls in my basement or something, because it is not. Mine was not a good look.
No, but they got Coach Norman Dale here, and they got Ollie on the key card there from the movie Hoosiers. So I thought that was pretty neat there, much better than what we had in Charlottesville. But going back to the matter at hand, in this football game, one of the big things for the Hoosiers has been the play of quarterback Curtis Rourke. He's not going to be available. He had a procedure done to his hand. He injured that in the second quarter in the win over Nebraska last week. Taven Jackson is going to come in and make the start for them. That's okay. Indiana has, their offense has been lighting it up. Their closest margin of victory is 14 points this year. That was in a 42-28 win over Maryland back on September the 28th. I mentioned that Signetti brought like 28 guys. It was actually 23 with him from JMU. Indiana has sold out the rest of the season home games, and this is the first time they sold out multiple home games in quite some time. It's only the 5th time in program history. So the student support is there. They're excited. I think even without Curtis Rourke, the Ohio transfer, pulling the trigger at quarterback, I like them to score. I'm going to take them minus that 6.5. I think they probably easily win this 10, 17 points. Maybe it's a little bit closer. That offense doesn't, function as normal without their quarterback there. But I like the Hoosiers minus the points here.
Yeah, you said 6.5. It's 5.5.
Oh, what? I'm sorry. I had my notes earlier in the week. They were 6.5. I just didn't update my notes. So yeah, 5.5. I like it even better. Indiana minus the 5.5.
All right. Well, this game is actually on my card too, so I'll go ahead and give out my pick. Washington coming off a blowout loss. Indiana coming off a blowout win against Nebraska. But I am going Washington. I am rooting for Indiana for the JMU connections and all that. But Washington's coming off a bye. They're going to have the better quarterback. Indiana, they forced 3 interceptions last week. Will Howard for Washington only has 2 all year. I think this is going to be a close game. Washington with the better quarterback. Wouldn't surprise me if they come out with the win. But yeah, I think either way, at worst, they keep it close and they cover the 5.5.
Okay. Split on this one. Chris, any thoughts on this? And by the way, College Game Day on right now. Lee Corso looks marvelous in his red Indiana sweater. Remember, he used to be coach of the Hoosiers, so it's kind of cool to see coach come back home, so to speak there. But Chris, any thoughts on this one?
No.
All right. Astute analysis as always. Well, I'm sure you'll have a very well-informed take on this one. Next up on my card, BYU. That should be plus the points. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. BYU is a dog at UCF. UCF minus the 2.5 points there. Over under is 52.5. This is a 3:30 kick on ESPN. And give me 1 second here, and I can update that and have that correct as we do some live things here. This is what happens when I go out drinking with Scotty. He's a bad influence.
Yeah.
All right, so taking a look here, these teams are going in different directions. Knights have lost 4 straight. Cougars have won 7 in a row. Cougs survived a scare last week, pulling out that 38-35 win over Oklahoma State with a touchdown with about 10 seconds left in that. Listen, the bounce house is usually a tough place to play at UCF. It's homecoming, so all their commuter students, because, UCF is nothing but VCU, but with a football team. Everyone, what? I'm serious. It's a big commuter school. So, it's homecoming for everyone that lives, 10 miles away from there. They'll, I guess, all just park there and get really excited. So they got that going for them. That doesn't matter. BYU travels. It's one of those teams that's a national fan base, obviously. There's going to be a lot of blue, a lot of royal blue in the stands there. I think that's going to negate some of that home field advantage for the Knights. Ja'Cory Brown making his second straight start for UCF. He and RJ Harvey on the ground last week. They helped lead the way with 354 yards rushing. UCF had on the ground in their win over Iowa State. Their game against Iowa State. They did combine for 4 touchdowns. That's okay, because BYU's defense is one of the best in the country. They're 13th in yards per play allowed, and they're tied for 6th nationally in interceptions with 12. And lastly, on BYU, quarterback Jake Retzlaff is exactly the kind of guy that gives UCF trouble. They struggle with dual threat quarterbacks, see Shedeur Sanders in that game. And BYU has scored at least 34 points in 6 of their 7 games, including the last 5. I was going to put this straight up on my upset of the week. Chris told me not to. I fought with him on it. I actually listened to Chris for the first time in my life. That's okay. I still like them straight up, but I'm going to take UCF plus the 2.5 for the purpose of this bet. Give me BYU plus the 2.5. Yes. I'm on the Cougs. You want to send me a Cougar head? I'll put a Cosmo Cougar head on. I do have a shirt that says Excommunicated Mormon Drinking Team. So I might have to don that. I am on the Cougs.
We saw some Cougs last night.
Oh, they were after you, buddy. They were after you.
So, what's the weather like out in Utah right now? Is it cold yet?
This game is in Florida.
I understand that. What's the weather like in Utah?
I don't know.
Probably 40s.
Provo, Utah, right now it is 46, and they are expecting a high today of 72.
Got it. All right. Well, UCF, it's going to be 83 degrees at kickoff, 50% humidity. They are not used to this weather. They're up in the dry, cold mountain air. They're going to be cramping up. They're going to suck. UCF is going to roll. UCF minus 2.5. Easiest bet of the week for me.
So that's on your card, Chris?
Yeah, that is on my card.
Yeah, it is on his. I counter his weather report by the fact that, remember, these BYU guys, they all have to make their mission trips. A lot of these guys end up going to remote places in tropical climates.
But they're not getting hit by elite athletes at the same time.
No,
they're just building houses and shit.
They're building a church in Guatemala. That's got to be tough in the weather there. I think they're built tough. They're Mormon strong. I'm going with the Cougs.
Never mind. I was going to make a very offensive joke there. I like UCF too. They opened as an underdog this week, and then the Sharps bet it all the way to where it is now. That over-under is weird to me. You would think it would be higher than that. So that kind of makes me think that the under might be in play. But yeah, UCF started to look like what we thought they were going to be last week. They were ahead most of that game against Iowa State. He almost pulled it out. At home, I think they're gonna win by at least a field goal.
All right. So there we go. So the recap on my card, I got the over 50.5 in Notre Dame and Navy. I'm taking Indiana minus the 5.5 against Washington, and then here I got BYU plus the 2.5, taking on UCF. Chris, we knocked out a good portion of your card already, so let's just go ahead and do the other one. You on Notre Dame and Navy, you had,
Notre Dame minus 14.
and then you took UCF. I don't know why I had the wrong thing there. You took UCF minus the 2.5 against BYU.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right. So next up, why, for the love of God, is this game?
This is the fuck Leon week. Wyoming, one of your favorite programs that have graduated to the FBS. Utah State minus 2 going into shitty Wyoming. Shitty flyover state.
Hey,
Utah
Laramie is
State
beautiful.
is going to roll. They're going to win by at least a touchdown. Utah State minus 2. Wyoming sucks.
Listen, this is the Wyoming is quite bad this year, but this is the latest installment of the Bridgers battle, okay? That was named after American frontiersman Jim Bridger, all right? And I believe there's like a 50 caliber rifle that's awarded to the winning team when they win this game. So how that hasn't been stopped or canceled yet, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's outdoors. It's Utah and Wyoming. You know, they're hunting.
Okay.
Yeah. Wyoming is just god awful this year, though. Utah State hasn't been great either. If I had to go with something on this one, I'd probably go with the under because I just don't see Wyoming doing much to help that total. So I would probably go under 57.5. But I agree, they're probably going to kick the shit out of the Cowboys.
I don't know. Whatever. What are we doing? I had to do some digging to find this game to figure out what time it was and what channel.
Battle of 1 in 7 teams.
1 in 6.
1 in 6, yeah.
Somehow they'll both be 1 in 7 after this week.
Yeah,
if you watch this game, you're the ultimate loser.
Well, you're betting on it, so
I'm not watching this shit.
Oh yeah. Also, I've found the picture of the rifle here. If I can bring that in for 1 second here. Let's see. Can I bring that in here? Make sure my
will you team ban us for this?
That's a good question. Well, we know that Rumble.
We'll put it up on the Instagram afterwards. How about that?
Rumble will make it their new logo.
It's a newspaper. It's a newspaper article. I got it pulled up here. All right, so you can see that that's the trophy.
That's
right there.
That's not a 50 caliber rifle.
That's what it says in the article.
That looks like a fucking musket.
That looks like the picture that people from other countries see in their head when they think of us. Football and guns.
Yeah.
Welcome to America. Here's your rifle. I don't know. I'm not a sportsman per se. I like to feign that I am, but I'm not. So I don't know the caliber. In the article I read, that's what it said. But I'm sure the guy that wrote the article probably went to Yale and has never seen a rifle before. But there we go. So I don't know
if that Wyoming real estate ad that I saw on there.
Let me go back to it on here.
Yeah. Why do you need an ad? Why do you need an ad for that? There's like 8 houses in the state.
Are you serious?
Here's your 1-bedroom shack with an outhouse on 73 acres of land.
Go try to find any housing near Jackson and go look.
No, thank you.
Jackson Hole. It's where all the celebrities live. It's like multi-million-dollar houses. And then go look at.
Is that where Kanye moved?
I have no idea where Kanye is. I'm assuming
it's either Wyoming or Montana, one of the two.
And then go look at Cheyenne, which the university is in Laramie. But Cheyenne's a beautiful place and great houses there. I'd move there tomorrow if I could.
Please do.
Powder River, Letterbuck.
Please go away.
I would love to. All right. So the recap here, you got that. And then Scotty, move over to your card here. You already did Indiana and Washington. That's now 5.5. Let me update that. Where did you go on that?
I went Washington plus the 5.5.
Oh yeah, you didn't give your analysis on that. You did give your analysis. I'm sorry. So yeah, Washington plus the 5.5 here. All right. Next up for you, Vandy. The Doors. They are at home taking on Texas. 25th ranked Vanderbilt. It's so weird seeing that. Taking on number 5 Texas. Longhorns laying 17.5. Over under 51.5, 415 kick on the SEC network. Where you going here?
This is the ultimate bounce back game for Texas. I think they're going to roll. The offense got beat up last week by Georgia, as both me and Chris predicted. But their offense is definitely going to come in pissed off. They still got the number one defense in yards per game and yards per play in the country, and it's not even really close. I just think Diego Pavia, all the little silly shit he's been getting away with, is going to blow up in his face this week. You mentioned that number beside their name. We see that a lot. These teams that aren't usually ranked, they get ranked and then they just kind of fall apart. Texas just better everywhere. Vanderbilt's good story. They've had some good upsets. They beat Alabama, of course, beat my Hokies. But you saw them struggle with one of the worst teams in the country last week. They were down to Ball State for a good portion of that game. I think their struggles continue. They haven't seen, Alabama, I guess you could say, is close to Texas in talent and all that, but they're not the team that Texas is. And yeah, like I said, just the ultimate bounce back spot for Texas. They're going to come in here and roll Vanderbilt by probably over 20 points.
Yeah, I like the story about Vanderbilt. Usually I like schools to, know their role, stay in their place, especially the smart schools. But I do like what Clark Lee's doing at Vanderbilt, and I like Diego Pavia a lot. That being said, Vandy ain't them this week. Texas is going to roll in this one. I think it'd be a little bit closer had Texas not been dismantled by Georgia, but the fact that Texas lost and the way that Texas lost, they're going to be pissed off. The Longhorns are going to run through Vandy, and I think they're going to run through Nashville afterwards too. All the Texas people that will be making the trip to go drinking because Nashville is just Austin light, So yeah,
for sure. Yeah, if Texas would have won last week, this line would probably be like 21.5, and then I'd be on a Vandy. But yeah, not so much.
Chris, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Texas should beat the absolute dog shit out of them.
All right, take Vandy plus the points. All three of us are on Texas. Take Vandy plus the points.
That's not good.
No, not good at all. All right. Too late. All right, next up here, you got SMU and Duke. Ponies laying 11.5 as they go to the fortress that is Wallace Wade Stadium. 48.5, 8 p.m. kick on the ACC network.
Yeah, I was hoping the spread was going to be in the single digits, but I'm still taking SMU minus the 11.5. I know you probably disagree with me on this one, Leon, but SMU had a slow start, but they've been rolling the last 3 or 4 weeks, just putting up huge numbers against everybody they've been playing. And you look at Duke, I know, they have a great defense, but their offense is atrocious. That game against Florida State last week, Florida State gave them the game. Like, they just kept giving them the ball and being Florida State, or at least Florida State of this year, their typical shit. The offense is just not really, they haven't really beat anybody. They've played one decent team, that was Georgia Tech, and they lost that one. I'd say they're not going to be able to keep up with that SMU offense, and SMU is going to roll. So SMU minus 11.5.
It's I'll talk more about this game a little bit later, but I will say it's a big weekend in Durham. Duke is honoring the 89, 94, and 2014 teams for their 35th, 30th, and 10th anniversary, respectively. The 89 team, of course, the old ball coach, Steve Spurrier, co-ACC champs with Virginia. That 94 team with Fred Goldsmith, who got up to, I think, 7-0. They were in the top 25 before they got routed. And, of course, Cutcliffe and what he did in 2014. And all three of those guys are going to be back in the building, Goldsmith, Cutcliffe, and Spurrier. It's going to be a big celebration in Durham. I think the crowd, the atmosphere is going to be great. I'll talk more about this one a little bit later.
You think college kids give a shit about any of those guys?
No, of course not. But I'm just saying from a...
They're ready for basketball season, especially after they lose to SMU. Then all the steam from the football team is going to be gone.
Well,
Yeah.
it will be nice though to see Cutcliffe finally get his due, especially how things ended there, how they kind of forced him out. It was time, but it's nice to see them bring him back. And of course, the old ball coach. I mean, if Spurrier's somewhere, I'm paying attention to it. I love the old ball coach, and he's always had an affinity for Duke. The Duke would always get that one vote in the coaches poll. That was Spurrier every single week. So I do like that. But I'll talk more about this one later. Chris, you got any thoughts as you slurp what appears to be the world's most watered down coffee ever?
Yeah, it's almost all gone. Got a little bit left. I don't know. I haven't seen SMU at all this year. But Duke's offense, they fucking blow. So I'm go with the under 48.5.
I don't hate that. I
Yeah,
don't hate
I
that.
like that.
Yeah. All right. So the recap for Scotty, he's got Indiana and Washington.
Got Washington plus 5.5.
And then you got Texas minus the 17.5 against Vandy.
Yep.
And then for Duke and SMU, you got
SMU minus 11.5.
SMU minus 11. All right. That concludes the college portion of the program here. Let's go to the National Football League, where somebody was undefeated last week. So as the king of the NFL, I will start things off here. Tuna Bowl. Talk about nostalgia, things that used to be cool. I miss when this was the Tuna Bowl. I still do like this rivalry. You got the Jets laying 7, over under is 40.5, taking on the Pats, 1 p.m. tomorrow on CBS. Listen, it took all of one game for Davante Adams to have some frustrations already in New York. The Jets won back in week 3. They won this game 24-3. That was their last win, and Robert Saleh was still the head coach, and Nathaniel Hackett was still the offensive coordinator, and Jacoby Brissett was playing quarterback for the Patriots, and Davante Adams was in Vegas, and Hassan Reddick was still holding out. He's expected to play this week. Needless to say, a lot of things have changed since that week 3. You got Drake May made his NFL debut in that game in mop-up duty, and now he's starting. I do like the infusion of Hassan Reddick back to that defense. I'm glad they finally figured out the contract situation, at least short term. But the Jets secondary is beat up. Chuck Clark's on the IR. Tony Adams left the game early last week with a hamstring. DJ Reed's dealing with a groin, and Michael Carter II missed last week's game as well. We'll see what his status is. So is it going to be even more important for them to get a pass rush and try to get in the face and frustrate that rookie quarterback Drake May and confuse him? The Patriots are terrible. The Jets have so many problems, internally and just trying to get that offense going. But the Patriots are terrible, and I think they'll do enough up front to confuse and disrupt Drake May. I'm going to take the New York Football Jets minus the 7 points here. They burned me a lot this season, but I'm back on the Jets minus the 7.
Is this on my card too? I can't remember.
Thanks, sir.
Let me check.
think
Yes,
so.
you do have it on your card.
Yeah.
All right. The Jets' offense is abysmal. They have all the talent in the world and no quarterback to throw it to them. Patriots are going to cover this number. Patriots plus 7 at home. Drake May going to have a mediocre game because he's not a good quarterback either. This is going to be a war of attrition. So Patriots plus 7.
I see this game I see like New York like 16-7. I can see like just an ugly game.
Yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
ugly.
I disagree with both of you on that. I think this over is going to hit. Patriots defense has been awful. I think the Jets are going to be able to put up some points just with the receivers they have alone and Brees Hall. And then Drake May, he's been putting up numbers since he's been put in the lineup. I think they're going to be in the mid 40s, maybe even, maybe not the 50s, but I'd say it'd be like a 24-20 game. That number, that's 7. I feel like Jets will probably be up by like 10-14 late, and then maybe a backdoor cover. But I don't really like that number either way. But yeah, I might bet the over on this.
Okay. All right. So then moving over to the next one on my card, I believe I had this in common with somebody. The Falcons laying the 2.5, taking on the Bucks. 45.5 is the over under 1 p.m. Tomorrow on Fox. Chris, I think this is on your card too. So you'll go with this one after me here. Look, last time we saw this matchup, Kirk Cousins was throwing the ball all over the place. It was like 42 of 58 for 509, 4 touchdowns and a pick in their 36-30 OT win. I don't think that we're going to see anything near that offensively, especially from Tampa. Chris Godwin out for the year. Mike Evans is out again with the hamstring. They got young, unproven wide receivers. They're going to have to step up in this game. I think Tampa is probably going to give them a healthy dose of that trio of running backs with Rashad White, Bucky Irving, and Sean Tucker. They've helped Tampa average 168.4 yards on the ground since week 4. The last 2 weeks, Atlanta, though, has also been running the ball well with 353 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns on 70 carries between Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. It looks like Zach Robinson, the OC, has kind of finally started to figure things out a little bit with how to use both of those backs. I just don't think Tampa has anything. They're beat up all over the place. I like Atlanta minus the 2.5 here.
I'm on the opposite side. There's something about Baker Mayfield where he will his team to win. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to win the division. Kirk Cousins is going to melt down. Bucks plus 2.5.
Ooh, okay. Scotty, any thoughts on this one?
I kind of like the Bucks too. I haven't done too much digging into this game yet, but yeah, I mean they still got Baker. I know he lost all of his receivers, but he's still gonna have some guys out there to throw to. McMillan looked decent if he can just catch the ball. I think he can be a decent receiver for them.
Kind of important.
Kind of important. Yeah. I mean he was getting open. Baker was putting the ball on him. Yeah, and they've been pretty good running the ball too. They have that 3-headed monster now. Kirk Cousins, you never know what he's going to do, how he's going to show up. They got upset last week. I might just bet the under though. I don't really like either side of this game. If the total stays over 45, I'll probably bet the under.
Okay. I actually don't hate that one either. I was originally thinking that, and then I shifted my way over to the Atlanta minus the 2.5 here. All right, next one up on my card, Scotty. I think you and I have this one in common here. We got Packers and the Jags. Green Bay laying the 4 points in the beautiful Jacksonville, over under 49.5, 1 p.m. Tomorrow on Fox. All right, so this feels like a trap game for Green Bay. You know, they've played well. Obviously, the Jags have struggled mightily. And the Packers have that war coming up next week with the Lions at Lambeau. I'm not a big believer in look-ahead games in the NFL as much as I am in college, but if there ever was one, this would be one. The Jags beat the Pats, last week in London, but their D is struggling. Their D is 30th in points allowed, giving up 27.7 a game. The Packers' offense is 7th in scoring at 26.6 points a game. Jacksonville's also last in the league in opponent passer rating. Every quarterback pretty much not named Deshaun Watson has had a really good day against them. The Jags also struggle defending the tight end. And Green Bay's Tucker Kraft emerged as a really reliable target for Jordan Love. He's got 21 receptions for 264 and 4 touchdowns on the year. Even with the look-ahead spot, I like Green Bay, and also those fans are going to travel. It's going to be damn near Green Bay home game, I think. I like Green Bay minus 4 points in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'm actually going on the other side. So you're going to head-to-head with both of us. Yeah, as disappointing as Jacksonville has been this year, they're 2-1 against the spread as underdogs. They're finally coming back home after being in London for 2 long weeks. And their running game is getting going. They're, I think, 8th in the league in run, or is that their defense? Yeah, the run defense. So their running game and their run defense has been solid. It's their passing attack, especially their pass defense, is terrible. But yeah, Tank Bigsby is looking like he might be taking over the number 1 running back spot there. So he's been going off. He's looked really good. They have Brian Thomas there. So I do think that the offense is going to have some success against Green Bay. Green Bay might win this game, but yeah, I see this being a close game. And honestly, it wouldn't shock me if Jacksonville pulled off the upset, but I think they're going to stay within the 4 points.
There we go. All right. Chris, your thoughts on this? Any?
I I don't know. The Jags should be much better than they have been. If I was going to pick something, I would go over 49.5.
It's not bad. That's not bad. I don't hate it. All right, so to recap my NFL plays here, I got the Jets -7 against the Pats. I'm taking the Falcons -2.5 against the Bucks, and the Packers -4 at the Jags. I got all road favorites, road warriors here. Everybody covering for me.
Good
Leon's road
Oh, yeah.
warriors. All right, next up here, who wants to go next, Scotty or Chris?
I got one game left. Just
All right, let's just go with Christopher here. Next up on your card, you got Eagles and the Bengals, which, by the way, this was the – you know what? Never mind. No one even cares about that. I was going to say that movie Invincible with Mark Wahlberg. This
nobody
was
cares.
What's
the game that
what's
they
ever
lost.
stopped you from talking about things that people don't care about?
yeah, you do it all the time, especially
very
in the
true.
group chat.
This was the last game before Mark Wahlberg, his character became an Eagle. He watched his game from the crowd in the movie Invincible, but it was in Philadelphia. But this is a little tidbit there. All right, so Eagles, Bengals, Cincy laying the 2.5 at home, over under 47.5, 1 p.m. tomorrow on CBS.
I've been going back and forth on this one. The Eagles did not look bad last week like I thought they would. The Bengals need this game desperately, more than the Eagles do. I'm going to go Bengals -2.5. Bengals need the game. They got to keep up with Pittsburgh, so Eagles will be fine. They'll make the playoffs with or without the game.
Yeah, this one almost made my card too. I agree with you. The fact that they're favored here, I think, tells you everything you need to know. They're playing better. Joe Burrow is looking good. Yeah, Bengals are going to win.
And Scotty, I think we were looking at yesterday. T. Higgins' status is in question, I think, for this game.
Yeah, fuck that guy, man. I keep saying I'm not going to draft him. I end up with him on my fantasy team every year. And he gets hurt in practice every year. He's been hurt in practice twice already this year. Like, what are you doing?
Just pull a Allen Iverson, man. We're talking about practice. Just don't play. Just don't practice.
Yeah.
Just show up. It's game time.
Say on Friday. What are you doing?
I don't know where to go on this one, honestly. Philadelphia is one of the most schizophrenic teams in the league here. I do like the way Burrow's playing. I would feel better about this if T. Higgins was completely healthy, but I'm gonna go ahead and give this a kiss of death and take Cincinnati -2.5 as well. So
hammer the Eagles, everybody.
You can go ahead and put your money down on Philadelphia with all three of us on that.
Can I change my upset pick?
No, sir. So the recap for Chris, he's got the Bengals -2.5 here, and then you're on
Bucks +2.5,
and then
Pats +7.
There we go. All right, so moving on over to Scotty here. The Jags and the Packers, you already got on this one. You
+4.
Jags +4. Yep.
Yes,
and then next up for
Jagging
you,
off.
Jagging off down there. You got the Bills -3 traveling across country to Seattle, taking on the Seahawks. 46.5 is the over/under. 405 tomorrow on Fox.
Yeah, I bet on. It was actually one of my podcast picks last week, Seattle, and they pulled off the upset at Atlanta. But I am going against them this week. I'm taking the Bills with the 3 points. DK Metcalf is most likely out. That's going to hurt them big time. Trey Brown, I think the corner's name is. Trey something. But he's questionable starting corner. He is probably going to play, but he's going to be banged up. And so that's not good news for a Buffalo offense that all of a sudden is looking lights out. Amari Cooper's first game, he kind of went off. He's going to be open things up already for Keon Coleman. And Shakir should be healthier this week over the middle. What's the tight end's name? Kincaid.
Dalton Knox.
Yeah,
Dalton Knox and Dalton Kincaid, yeah.
And now Ray Davis is a thing. Him and James Cook, they just got weapons everywhere. And Seattle coming off that upset win. Bills are looking to show themselves as a threat in the AFC I think they're going to. It might even be a blowout. They're going to cover the 3 easily.
Yeah, I had this one on my card and I pulled it out. But yeah, I'm with you on this. Buffalo -3. They got more firepower than that rifle that Wyoming and Utah State are playing for. So yeah, give me the Bills.
I almost put this on my card too. I am on the other side. I like the Seahawks at home. It's a long flight from Buffalo to Seattle. And Josh Allen's going to do something stupid eventually, so why not this week?
He is due for like a really bad fumble at some point. Yeah. All right. So then we got Giants and Steelers here on Monday Night Football. Before we bring this in, I had this graphic. I wanted to bring this in right now. Since 2019, the Giants and the Jets are combined 4-32 in primetime games. 4-32 in primetime games. The Giants and the Jets. We'll see if the New York Football Giants can buck that trend. They're getting 6 points as they travel to the Steel City to take on Russell Wilson and his Pittsburgh Steelers. Over under really low here. 30. No, that's just the polluted coal coming down.
Over under a weird line and
36.5. Monday, exactly. 8:15, ABC, ESPN. Scotty, you're up, sir.
Yeah, you just showed the graphic. New York teams, Daniel Jones, primetime. Russell Wilson and the Steelers put up 37 points against a good Jets defense last week. So you got to go with the Steelers, right? Give me Giants plus the 6.
Ooh.
If you watched that game last week, Russell Wilson, so the Jets were leaving their corners on an island because they can do that because they have Sauce Gardner. And the only way, it was like when Johnny Manziel was at A&M, when he would get in trouble, he would just throw the ball up in the air and Mike Evans would go get it. That's what George Pickens was doing. They were calling it a moon ball, and that's what it is. Did you ever play 500 back in the day?
Yeah.
You throw the ball up in the air. You throw the ball up in the air, and like a group of your friends are down there. You yell out a number. If somebody catches the ball, they get that many points. If you get to 500, you win. That's what Russell Wilson was doing. He was just throwing that shit up in the air, and George Pickens was just making insane catches.
Awesome.
So the Giants, the Giants aren't going to leave their corners on the island like that. They're going to play more zone defense. I think this total tells you a lot too. These low totals at 6 is going to be hard to cover. This is going to be an ugly game, and it's going to be a close game. Russell Wilson's going to do something stupid. He's going to have a turnover or two, or he's going to look like Denver Russell Wilson, barely able to complete passes. It's not going to look like last week. It's going to be a close game. Giants are going to cover.
This is going to be the Giants week that was supposed to happen last week, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Danny Dimes, slicing and dicing.
Yeah, you're right. This is just ugly. I looked at this line like 3 or 4 times before the show. I was like, that just doesn't okay. I'm gonna go under on this one. This has the feeling of like Chris Boswell winning it again with his foot, maybe 4 or 5 field goals again. I can see this like, maybe 20-3 Pittsburgh or something like that. Maybe TJ Watt or somebody makes a big play defensively. Maybe a defensive score for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I was gonna say who's gonna have more points, the offense or the defense?
Yeah, it's gonna be ugly. I like
that's the only thing that scares me is Daniel Jones giving points to the defense. But yeah, I had the under in that Steelers Jets game that was on my card last week, and every big Steelers play was just some incredible catch where Sauce Gardner is like right there, but he's not looking at the ball, and George Pickens was going insane.
Yeah. I like the moonball reference. I always think about Dante Culpepper when he was with the Vikings. It's just I have Randy Moss. I'll just throw this teardrop up and he'll go get it. It's like,
but they don't have Randy Moss. George Pickens, good receiver. He's not making all those catches again. Even Freiermuth had like 2 catches for like 50, 60 yards. So it was all big plays. It's not going to keep happening. Giants are going to limit that.
Chris, any thoughts on this one?
It's weird. If I had to pick something, 36.5 is really low. For a Steelers defense that's playing against Daniel Jones, they could have 2 scores. I'll go over 36.5.
There you go, over 36.5. So the recap for Scotty on this game, you got
Jacksonville plus the 4, the Bills minus the 3, and the New York Football Giants plus the 6.
there we
Go
go.
Danny Dimes.
Danny Dimes.
Such a strange line.
He's a believer. All right, time for our upset, our underdog parlay here. We're getting close on these. We're getting real close. We're going to
Yeah,
hit
I've
one
blown it the
eventually.
last couple weeks. Arkansas, what did they do on the bye week? What were they doing? They did not show up.
Yeah, they were not studying football is what they were doing. I don't know what was going on. All right, let's take a look at that. So I forget who had Stanford against Wake.
Me, I didn't like any of the upsets. I was gonna do LSU, but then they're like a minus 105 now, so that's not really fair. It's basically a pick 'em. So yeah, why not Stanford at home against Wake? Stanford, there's smart guys over there. Maybe they've grouped together and figured out how to shut down that silly little shit that Wake Forest does on every pass play.
Those mesh plays get longer and longer each week.
I hate it. And it hurts the quarterback, I feel like. That's why I thought Sam Hartman, when he went to Notre Dame, I thought he was trash just because of that. Like, what is that? How do you scout that? But
we might get a Sam Hartman sighting this week for Washington.
Yeah, we might.
Most handsome man in the NFL. Step aside, Jimmy G.
Oof. Oof.
Yeah. Wake,
all right.
Wake traveling to Stanford. Wake's not great. Why not?
All right. So then next up, Christopher, you're on Wisconsin.
I am on Wisconsin. They have been rolling lately. Penn State's due. James Franklin doesn't win big games. We've seen it before. He's won a couple this year, but were they really that big of games? USC is not what we thought they were. So Wisconsin's at home, plus 200 dog. They're hitting their stride at the right time. They lost to USC on the road, and they lost to Alabama when Alabama was good. So Wisconsin, they're heading the right direction. They're going to win today.
I like Penn State, but I don't hate this one for you, especially considering that Penn State has that look ahead with Ohio State next week as well. This is a perfect trap situation there. All right, and next up on my card, as I've accidentally minimized everything on my screen, and to complete the parlay, I'm going with Duke. The Devils plus 340 at home against SMU. I held out my thoughts on this one earlier. Here's why Duke is going to win. This is the fourth time since 1960 that Duke has been 6-1. All right, I already talked about Fred Goldsmith in '94. They started 7-0, but they finished 8-4. Twice under Cutcliffe in 2015 and 2014, they finished 9-4 after starting 6-1. So 9-4 and 14, 8-5, excuse me, in 15. The key to Duke is finishing, and this is the rough stretch of their schedule coming up. They have to finish strong, and I think this team is built to do it. They have to get the offense going. They only had 180 yards against Florida State last week, but they didn't try to force anything. They just let Florida State beat themselves, and that's the mark of a good team sometimes. If it's just not working, let the opponent beat themselves and capitalize on those situations. SMU can be stingy defensively, though. Their secondary is tied for 6th in the country with 12 picks. SMU is 13th and Duke is 17th in turnover margin. But one big thing here, SMU is going to be without their star tight end, R.J. Maryland. That's the son of former great Dallas Cowboy Russell Maryland. He was lost for the season with an injury last week. He led SMU in targets, receptions, and touchdowns receiving. I think it's going to be a big loss for their offense. Duke wants to make this ugly. Duke wants to make this a bar fight, which is weird saying that Duke wants to be in a bar fight, but those kids are tough. They want to play good defense. They want to keep score down. I like Duke to get the win on an emotional night in Durham. All the guys coming back, celebrating all the teams. It's going to be a cauldron. And Wallace Wade's becoming a tough place to play. I like Duke at home. So put that together. That gets us 29-36 on those odds. That's one of our bigger ones this year. Scotty, if you put $100 on that, what does that pay you?
Probably zero with the way we've been doing. But if you win, the $2,936.
Boom.
This is it's probably my least favorite. I don't even like my own pick on this one of one of our parlays. So this one's probably the one that's going to hit.
Hey, I just want to point out that we went with academics. Wisconsin's a party school.
Yes.
It's actually a tough school to get into. Actually, there's a lot of smart kids in Wisconsin. So this is our academic parlay right here. So, and of course,
pick your opposites.
Of course, Chris went with Wisconsin because I mean it is the least of the three academic institutions here, which Chris is kind of like the least of the three of us intellectually. So
that's hilarious.
Work out there. And I imagine Wisconsin students probably smoke a lot. So as does Chris. So they're like kindred spirits. All right. So before we get out of here.
We didn't get to discuss this because I was late to the pre-show meeting, but big UFC card starts in 5 minutes. UFC 308, Topuria versus Holloway in Abu Dhabi. Great card. It's a shame that it's in the middle of fucking afternoon on a Saturday. But it's an insane card. So I like Max Holloway in an upset, Robert Whittaker in an upset, and Ankalaev, Dan Ige, Shara Magomedov, the one-eyed guy who can't fight in the United States because he only has one eye. So yeah,
is that real?
That is real. There was and Chris Barnett, the guy who looks like Leon, but can put his foot over his head, is fighting Kennedy Jekwu from Nigeria. Should be a great fight. Barn burner.
He's like the character I made for Leon on the wrestling game when we do our draft order.
Hey.
He's like a big guy, but he can move.
Hey, he's like
I like
5'11", 265 after cutting weight. It's amazing.
That's me. I'm nimble. I'm a dancing bear.
No, I like the Robert Whittaker pick. He's an underdog. I think he's too well rounded for Hamzat. I think this is the fight that
Chimaev hasn't fought in what, 2 years, something like that.
It's been a while.
But he's been out with COVID like 7 times.
Yeah, that fight with Usman was very close.
Yeah,
Gilbert Burns almost beat him. But yeah, it's Max Holloway. I don't know. Kind of depends on what Topuria tries to do. Yeah, I think that'd be a good fight.
It's a great fucking card. Should be a fun watch if anybody's going to watch it.
But I do like. I sent this to y'all in the group chat. The guy from, was it Tajikistan? Am I saying that right? Is that racist?
It's
but
Tajikistan.
Yeah, that. But at the UFC press conference, he was the guy in the crowd, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm 9-0 from that place," and that place. He's like, "Yeah, I could fight in the UFC. Give me a chance." And Dana's giving him a chance. He's fighting on the Korean Zombies having a what's it called? Looking for a fight. It's kind of like the Contender Series, I guess.
Oh, that's cool.
It's in Korea, so he's fighting on that, and if he wins, he's getting a shot in the UFC.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to go with Shara Magodev. What's his name?
Magomedov. That's the guy with that's the guy with one eye.
Yeah. So he is 14-0, and he's Russian. I don't fuck with Russians. They're tough people. I'm going to go with the guy with one eye.
He's I don't know if he's going to lose tonight, but he's good, but I don't think he's like championship material. He's going to get exposed at some point.
Well, getting exposed before we get out of here, I didn't get to this Thursday, and I want to get to this now. What do you guys do for Thanksgiving? Does either one of you guys cook for Thanksgiving?
Fuck no.
No.
I make the turkey. I'm the turkey guy, okay? I've gotten quite good at it. But there was one Thanksgiving that I was living with our friend Michael Baseglia, and we made Thanksgiving together. Our roommate left, and we both didn't go home. So we decided to make our own Thanksgiving. We got drunk 3 separate times that day. And we tried to make a turkey. It was the first time ever. And we called the Butterball hotline. And Mike likes to make small talk. And so he calls the Butterball hotline. And he's like, "Hey, how's it going? Busy today, I bet." And you can almost like hear this woman wanting to like just stab him through the phone.
I'm that woman when I used to have a customer service job.
I say
Me
that
now.
to say this. Butterball now, for people like Chris who can't cook, well, actually, he can grill a little bit, but I wouldn't let him cook a turkey. They now have it where you can cook a whole turkey frozen right out of the bag. You just take it right out of the bag. I don't know how they do it. You stick it in there, and it's supposed to be able to cook a whole turkey from frozen. There's no way this thing is going to be good. This is food poisoning. This is what you're going to get.
Honestly, unless it's deep fried, turkey's not that great anyways.
I don't even deep fry it. I spatchcocker, put her in the oven, cuts the cooking time down dramatically.
You would spatchcock.
He just loves saying that word. I've never heard that word before, and you said it about 15 times in the last 2 weeks.
You never
and I'm glad we're a week before Halloween and you're doing Thanksgiving stories.
Oh, I love
Thanksgiving for next month.
Well, this is a new product that just hit the shelves now. You know, some people get their bird and stick it in the freezer and keep it now. Which, by the way, is not a bad strategy. You get up for the prices go up a little bit closer to Thanksgiving. And I'm going to do
next week. Next week, tune into our Christmas episode.
I'm going to do a practice bird in the next couple of weeks here too, just to get dialed in on what I want to do this year. So I will not be trying that frozen turkey.
Is Halloween on Thursday?
Yeah.
Halloween is a Thursday.
All right, I'm doubling that day, so we got to do Wednesday.
Okay, I thought you were going to say that you were going trick or treating.
No,
you're doubling.
He's getting double teamed.
I'm working for somebody, so.
No, it doesn't make it better. He's getting doubled. Doesn't make it better. What's his ZJ? All right. All right, let's get the hell out of here. Scotty Bump us out. Make sure to join us Thursday this week, 6:45 on the Let's Not Do This podcast.
Go Dodgers.
Something like that.
Yes.
Go Duke.
Fuck Duke.
Maybe.